I hadn't noticed he was standing there in the hallway, not until it was far too late, not until the words had already escaped my lips, not until the soft click of the door closing behind him, followed by the sound of his footsteps fading away, out of my life, without so much as a single word. Hi, I'm Natalie, and this is the story of how I ruined the best relationship I ever had. All because I couldn't move on from my past. It all began like any ordinary, quiet Saturday. My best friend Claire had dropped by for our usual coffee and catch-up session. We sat in my kitchen, chatting about work, her new boyfriend, and eventually Jake, my boyfriend of 2 years. Jake was, or rather, had been, the kind of man who made the world feel a little brighter, a little safer. He was steady, kind, gentle, the sort of person who remembered how you like your coffee, scratched your back without being asked, and folded your laundry simply because he was doing his own. He was, in every way, everything I should have wanted. But here's the part I'm ashamed to admit. I was still in love with someone else. His name was Adam. My ex. The one who had shattered my heart 3 years earlier. He had cheated, disappeared, come back, then left again. The whole relationship had been toxic, a painful, tangled mess. And yet, despite everything, I had never truly let go of him. Jake didn't know that. Of course, he knew about Adam. I hadn't hidden that fact, but he had no idea how much Adam still haunted me. He didn't know that on sleepless nights, I would find myself scrolling through Adam's Instagram, or that I still had a playlist that reminded me of him, or that sometimes in the quiet hours, I would catch myself wondering what life might have been like if Adam had chosen to stay. So that day, when Claire casually asked over coffee, "Do you think you'll marry Jake one day?" I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the question hit too close to something I couldn't admit, even to myself. I took a slow sip of my drink and answered, foolishly, selfishly, "I don't think I'll ever love him the way I loved Adam." Claire's eyes widened. "Wait, what?" I gave a helpless shrug. "Jake's incredible. He really is. But that fire I had with Adam, that intensity, it wasn't fake. It was chaotic, yes, but it was real. I don't feel that with Jake." What I didn't know, what would soon change everything, was that Jake had come home early. He had parked without making a sound, slipped inside quietly, and stood just out of view in the hallway, long enough to hear everything. He didn't confront me, didn't storm in, didn't raise his voice or ask for an explanation. He simply walked away, silently, completely, and I didn't even realize he had been there. Not until I noticed first that his car keys were gone, then the familiar pair of shoes he always left by the front door, missing, in his car, parked outside, a small paper bag sat on the passenger seat, our favorite croissants, untouched. That's when it hit me. He'd heard every word. I grabbed my phone and called him instantly, straight to voicemail. I sent a text, casual at first, then increasingly desperate. "Hey, where are you? Can we talk? Please come home." No reply. Claire stayed over that night. She felt awful, even though none of this was her fault. Over and over, she kept trying to reassure me. Maybe he didn't hear everything. She said, maybe he just needed some space. But deep down, I knew better. The next morning, I woke up to a single message. 5 words. That was all. "I heard you. I'm done." No explanations. No anger. No demands for clarity. Just done. I unraveled. Truly, I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. My mind played that moment in the kitchen on an endless loop, searching for any version where I hadn't spoken those words. But there was no alternate reality. I had said them, and in that moment at least, I had meant them. The days dragged by painfully slow. Jake never returned. I couldn't blame him. But here's where it gets twisted. Once he was gone, something inside me shifted. My thoughts stopped revolving around Adam. The late-night conversations, those spontaneous road trips, the heated fights that ended with intense reconciliations, all of it began to feel distant, like watching an old childhood movie and realizing it wasn't nearly as good as you remembered. Adam had been my addiction, Jake my cure, and I had driven him away. 2 weeks after the breakup, I bumped into Jake's sister, Emily, at a bookstore. We exchanged an awkward hug. She seemed torn between sympathy and frustration. I told her how sorry I was, how much I missed him, how badly I had messed up. She looked straight into my eyes and said something I'll never forget. He didn't need you to love him like you loved Adam. He just needed you to love him completely. Those words cut deeper than any insult ever could, because Jake had always offered me his whole heart, and I had given him scraps. That night, I decided to write him a letter, not a text, not an email, a real letter, handwritten. I poured everything into it. How I used to believe that love had to feel wild and chaotic to be real. How wrong I'd been. How, in trying to shield my own heart, I ended up breaking his. I told him I knew I didn't deserve a second chance, but if he ever wanted to talk, I'd be here. I never heard back. Months later, through mutual friends, I learned that Jake had moved to a new city. He'd taken a job with a nonprofit. He was dating someone new, someone who, from what I heard, made him laugh, challenged him, and loved him wholeheartedly. And me? I'm learning to live with the silence I created. I go on dates, but I don't rush. I'm in therapy now. I've stopped writing imaginary letters to Adam, even deleted the old playlist. But I still keep a copy of that letter I wrote to Jake. Not because I expect him to return. He won't. But because it serves as a reminder. Love isn't about fireworks and drama. It's about showing up day after day, choosing someone completely. And if you're listening, whoever you are, please remember that. Don't waste your love on someone who's already gone. And don't wait until it's too late to value the one who's right in front of you, loving you the best way they know how. Because sometimes the worst kind of heartbreak is the one you cause yourself.